Hey folks, Würfel here, and today we're going to take a look at the final design of the KAPPLEX Dice Tower. But before we jump into the details of the tower, let's update you about what happened since the last video. So on the last video you saw all the different styles and ideas that I brought up about the tower or the prototypes that I made. I sent all these prototypes to KAPPLEX because I think it's not worth sending just the good things that you think that are worth sending out. Send everything and they can play around, test around, and hopefully experience the same things that you have seen and then confirm your estimation on the design. But maybe they see something that you didn't saw earlier. So I think it's very important that they can experience the same things that I have tried out on these towers. So I sent them everything that I made. The feedback was great, and they definitely continued to work with me. That's why we are talking here on this video. The basic design is still the same. We added some details to polish it up, and there are some major things in the aspects that have changed. You remember there was the tower, and there was this chunky tray underneath it, and there was storage room within the tray to store your dice. And the idea to store your dice was one of the main features that we want to focus on. And for that reason, they gave it to some friends to play around with it, and they also loved it, but there's one problem. The idea was we have the tray, we glue the tower on top of the tray, so it's one unit. And then there's this simple loose lid that sits in there and that works as the rolling surface. The issue is if you pack this in your backpack, then your dice can fall out because the lid is just held in place by gravity. And so the idea was if I can make the lid kind of a way that it snaps into place and holds everything, and the tower is also detachable. So I already spun around with some ideas of adding some sort of a quick connection here, so you can stick it on, rotate it a little bit, and it locks into place. I thought of some snap fit joints for the lid part so that you can slide it forth and back to click it in place. But the more I thought about this and the complexity that comes with it, and that this is still a 3D printed part and that it needs to be sturdy and workable, all these small features, they tend to be a fragile part at the end of the design. And I don't want it to have something that breaks off during use. So I threw everything overboard. I went a step back and took a look at my previous designs that I made, and I grabbed some of the ideas that I used on my open spiral dice tower. One was the idea that I used the tower itself as a box, and that's the reason why we have a door here, and that's also the reason why this lid piece here is now rotatable, and you can also close the tower on the top end. So the tower is now the box, and that's why the tray at the bottom doesn't need to bring this purpose with it, and we can make this a lot easier and simpler. For that specific reason, I started to play around, of course, to make the nice and right fitting for this. So I made some smaller prototypes that I can test and bring everything in place. And you see here, I just printed the top section of the tower, and of course in whatever filament I had loaded in my Prusa Mini. And yep, it worked perfectly, but not satisfyingly good. The print quality is fairly good. The tolerances are nice. Everything snaps nicely together, but the overall function was not that pleasant. So I went a step further, and for that I need to show you how this lid looks. So let's take it apart. So it's fairly simple design. You have a notch here and one on the opposite, and you have the matching key on the lid piece here, this little nose here, slides in the groove that's all around here. I kept this feature on all of the prototypes here, but what I made to this one, you see here, this is now a free lever design, so it can spring a little bit. And I not only added the stop over here, I also added a small snap part over there. And at this point, you put it in, you rotate it, then there comes the little part where you have a little bit more friction, and then it slides across it, and then it's, you see now, it has a little bit of play. That's good. We want everything to move freely. And then you have a little bit of friction, and on this point here, there's the most friction, and then you're over the little part and it spins freely onto the other side, and then there's the click again, and now this won't open when you travel around. Shook it around and nothing comes loose. And I did the same for the door here, so I printed out some test examples for the door. Let's have a closer look how this is designed. Okay, I think this one has some loose and big tolerances. I hope you can see it. It's a simple disc, and with two 45-degree angles, it's held in place. And due to the fact that it is a little bit off center and the side is cut away, when you rotate it, the not cut away part here intersects with the opposite side of the door frame. So let's have a look here. You can turn this little knob, and then you can see here the little gap. It's now free, and then you can open it, and you see on the opposite there's the key part, and now everything comes together. And you see here there's a little snap part over there, and that is just protecting it from coming loose during travel, like the little snaps here at the top. And with that, you can now take some of your dice. Ooh, little sneak peek at my new packaging. And then you can take your dice. And there are a bit more than 3 sets fit in there. And then you can close it. Nothing will fall out of this. Then you open it. And there you have your dice. I'm more the technical design guy, so I don't need these brick textures and all that stuff. I'm more for simple and a functional design. But in this case, the look of the tower was also an important criteria. So not only the brick texture, also the logo placement here, the wooden door, all the things. Something that makes a nice look, but is still simple and recognizable. So there's not too much detail that makes trouble during the printing process, but I think there are some nice features here. Also, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but the idea of these shooting arrow slit style windows here came from a YouTube comment. So thanks for the great idea of adding these arrow slits here. It really gives the Dice Tower a nice look and makes it a little bit more alive, if that's the right word for it. And I'm very happy how this turned out. The feedback so far from KAPPLEX is very good, and they are fairly happy. So the production for these is running. This is the very first time that I have such a big project, and the next part will be designing the tray and making the tray fitting to the tower. There will be a little feature that makes them clicking together without the need to change anything here on the tower. But I think that's something for the weekend or the next week to design the tray. And when that's ready, I will do a second video to update you on the tray. That's so far from the tower. I'm fairly happy. This is the very first project of this kind and this scale that I'm doing. This is not just making a simple model that I sell to them, or um, like we need 5 of them. This might be something that is constantly running on my printer, and I hope you like it. It will soon be available in the KAPPLEX store. I will link it down below. Of course, production needs its time, so I can make one of these towers a day. So the first batch will hopefully be there by the end of August. So we hope to release it in September when everything's working as planned. So at this point, I want to say thank you for watching this. Thanks for joining me here on my journey. And for the first time, I'm remembering to say, if you like this, please consider subscribing and leaving a like here. If you have anything you would like to add to this, use the comments down below. Feel free to ask me anything you would like to know. Of course, check my other videos. I'm not only doing project stuff like this for others. This is the first time that I do this in this scale, as mentioned before. But I also do a lot of my own projects here. One big part that I like to mention here, and that are my Patreons, the best supporters that I have. It's not only the money that they send me so I can buy some materials that I can purely use to test things, which is absolutely awesome. It's also the feedback that I receive, because I share a lot of the in-between stuff with them, and I ask them for help, and this works pretty good. Thank you to everyone who's watching, and I hope to see you on the next one when we take a closer look at the dice tray for this KAPPLEX Dice Tower. Until that, happy printing, happy dice making, happy crafting. Hey, wait. I mean, I made a dice tower and I didn't use it in the complete video. I mean, of course I have to throw in some dice here and show you how lovely they roll in here. Yeah.